Good morning, sisters. It's Friday. We're just about to wind up on our study for the week. We've been studying about developing character, and I think we've all seen how David's character developed over time. And today we're just going to be, going back through the lesson and reviewing it to just see what we've learned. And one of the questions that came from Sunday was the times that God has protected us the way he did David. We know that David was in a cave. He was running away from Saul, and Saul was following him with his 3,000 men, and David had 600 men, and he was in a cave, and how Saul went into the cave, and he didn't even realize that David was there. And so David had an opportunity to kill Saul, but he did not do it because he remembered that Saul was still God's anointed, so he did not kill him. So that's also a question to reflect on and ask yourself, how many times has God protected me? And we are exposed to so much on a day-to-day basis. We are driving throughout the day. We are facing all kinds of things like fires and floods and natural disasters, and even just accidents that could happen anytime. Sometimes we're not even aware of how much God protects us from these things. But I have an incident that I remember. Out of all the incidences that I've ever experienced, is one that I remember very well. And when I think about it, sometimes I even get chills about it. It was a time I had gone to visit my brother back in Kenya, and I was walking. I had gone and stayed there for a couple of days, and so we were escorting a friend in the evening, and they were going to take the bus. And there was a hill down there. There was a hill, and that hill, we were used to running down the hill and going to where the bus stop was. And so that day I had thought about running down the hill. It was actually very dark and I could not see. I had thought about running down the hill, but something told me not to run, and instead I went around and walked down the way I was supposed to walk. So the following day I was leaving and I was going home, and I noticed that at the bottom of the hill they had actually put a small wall about 2 feet high. So when I thought about that, I got chills, because I could have run down that hill and actually hit that wall. I keep on thinking, like, I don't know if my legs could have survived that if I hit, because it wasn't a very high wall. It was really low, about 2 feet or even less. So it's something that I could have just gone and crashed into in the dark, because I could not see it from up there where I was, and I could have ran in full speed. So it's like God spoke to me and told me, no, you can't go that way, and you could hurt yourself. But I didn't know. So when I saw it the following day, it's when it hit me, wow, that was God protecting me from harm. So we have those incidences where we experience things and we're like, that wasn't me, that was providence. And there are others that we don't know about, and those are things that we're going to learn back when we go to heaven. So God has protected us in various ways. Like he protected David. He prevented David from doing something that he should not have done, because it was not his job to kill Saul and take the kingdom. God had told him he's going to have the kingdom, but it wasn't his job to take it by force. So what held him back, though? What held David back? So we see that he remembered, like we said, he remembered that Saul was God's anointed, and it wasn't time for him to be killed. He hadn't been told it was his job to kill him or to get rid of him, even if he knew that he was searching for him to kill him. He was chasing him, and with 3,000 men. So he knew he wanted to kill him, but he didn't see it as his place to kill him. So he paid evil with good. And we see that because Saul responded, and he told him, in fact, in 1 Samuel 24 verse 17, it says, David, thou art more righteous than I, for thou hast rewarded me good, whereas I have rewarded thee evil. So, and thou hast shown me this day how that thou hast dealt well with me, for as much as when the Lord has delivered me unto thine hand, thou killest me not. So here was Saul acknowledging that David had an opportunity to kill him and he did not do it. And so we see that when he heard the words of David, he was humbled and could not but admit their truthfulness, because David told him about why he was looking after him. He was chasing after him and how he had an opportunity to kill him and he did not do it. So his feelings were deeply moved as he realized how completely he had been in the power of the man whose life he sought. So he realized, how how powerful David. He made David into someone very powerful by making his life revolve around him, even his kingdom revolve around David, because now he's taken a whole army just to look for one man. That was quite something. So it's something to think about when we think about repaying good for evil. So we, in question 3, I think we're thinking about Samuel, how he died in an untimely manner, and in an untimely manner, and how people are depending on his counsel and on his prayers. And we've been reminded about a certain prophet who died in a time of spiritual crisis amongst the Seventh-day Adventists. And we're thinking about Sister White. She died just when the war was starting, and Adventists were all concerned about what should we do, what light do you have on this, what can you tell us, what counsel can you give us. So when she died, it felt very untimely, because people were not ready for her death, and they were so used to her counsel, although at times they rejected it. We know from history there are times when they did not appreciate her counsel and they did not appreciate it came from God. But when she died, they really felt the vacuum that she left behind. So it was very untimely the time she died. So then we go to Wednesday, as we are still considering our questions, and remember Nabal. And so the question is, what should you learn from times you've had to deal with someone like Nabal? Like, this is a personal question. What should we learn? Because we deal with people who treat us badly. You do something good to them and they still do you bad. It really affects us and we feel really offended. But how do we deal with these issues? And I think the good question to ask ourselves is, what would Jesus do? What would he do to a person like that? And that way you'll find your way, because you'll pray and he'll give you the words and the wisdom on how to respond to such a person, or how to treat that person eventually, instead of refusing to talk to the person, or revenging on that person, or doing things that you shouldn't do as a Christian. We know that we are way higher than that and we are way better than that. So it's something to think about on how you could treat someone who is like Nabal, who returns good with evil. So then we talk about receiving reproof gratefully, and the question is, what should you remember when the next time you're reproved for something? And here we've been told that we take reproof with gratitude of heart and bless those who seek to save you from pursuing an evil cause. So you have to realize that that person who is doing that, they're doing it because they care for you and they're concerned about your spirituality and your salvation, and that's why they're giving you that counsel for your sake. So it's time to think about blessing that person and thanking them, instead of taking offense and wondering who are you to correct me and tell me what to do or to give me advice. God uses all kinds of people, so those people do not have to be perfect for them to give you any kind of rebuke or reproof. So those are the reviews that we were doing for the week. I hope you also had some thought-provoking things that went on. You thought about what God has done for you, and the kind of people that you encounter on a day-to-day basis and how you respond to them. So it's a time for soul searching and thinking about how to always respond to circumstances like this. So I want to thank you so much for being with me throughout the week, And again, my name is Dorcas Wanganga from Washington. I hope that you've learned something in this week, and I hope you have a blessed Sabbath, and I hope to see you soon too. Amen.